So hello everybody, this is Bhante Joe here, and I'm just here at the large rock outside the Pavatakuti and thought to record a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. So I thought I could just start with a little meditation, so I can lean forward a bit and arch the spine and look about 3 feet in front and close our eyes. And can focus in on the breath. Can know when it's coming in and know when it's going out. If we breathe in a long breath, can just know I'm breathing in a long breath. And if we breathe in a short breath, can just know I'm breathing in a short breath. And can just pose the question in the mind. What would be a really comfortable way to breathe right now? And then one can just let the body respond on its own. And then one can just let the body respond on its own. And when watching the breath in this way, it can be good to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. Being aware all the way through the in-breath, as the in-breath turns to the out-breath, all the way through the out-breath, and as the out-breath turns back to the in-breath again. Trying to make mindfulness as continuous as possible. And if the mind wanders away, you can just bring it back to the present moment, to the breath. And before we finish meditating, and spread thoughts of goodwill. Wishing may all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. May they put in place the causes necessary to be happy and at ease. And we can make the mind infinite, can make it unbounded, all the way to the ends of the universe and beyond, in every dimension. May all beings all around everywhere be happy and at ease. You can open our eyes and do a short Dhamma discussion for the internet. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Dutiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi, Tatiyampi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. So was discussing with somebody a while ago about sleepiness during meditation. So how does one stop drowsiness during one's meditation? So the extent to which one is drowsy in one's meditation often has a lot to do with how one is going through the day in regular times. So for monks, if they're a junior monk, they sometimes have a lot of duties to do, kind of cleaning and sweeping. They have to attend their teacher, they have to learn chants, they have to do all these various things, and as a result the mind is kind of wound up. It uses quite a lot of energy. So when one goes to sit down, when one tries to calm the mind gets calm. One of the first things that happens is that one falls asleep. And so to a certain extent this is something that's part and parcel of a lifestyle that has a fair amount of work that isn't directly related to meditation. Now there's of course there's times when this is actually important to do. If one is a monk, it's important to learn the chanting. It's important to learn to attend to one's teacher. It's important to learn to do all these things. But that lifestyle in and of itself uses some of the energy in one's mind. One can try to counter that to a certain extent by basically going through the day and trying to keep one's meditation topic strong as one is going through the day, trying to make one's meditation topic one's frame of reference. And this can help to make the mind more mindful and less scattered, and that can help a little bit or a certain extent with drowsiness when one sits down to meditate. Another thing that can help if one has a busier day is to try to meditate at the kind of optimum times. If one meditates right before sleeping, and kind of in the suttas they describe meditating in the last watch of the night and the first watch of the night. This is the typical recommendation. And what it does is it collars one's sleep. So if one meditates right before one's sleep, then one's mind is less wound up during sleep. One has a more restful sleep. And then when one wakes up, there's some momentum to that. But also the course of one's day gets set depending on whether or not one meditates right at the beginning of the day. So if one starts to meditate or meditates at these two kind of optimum times, this can also help with maintaining mindfulness through the rest of the day. If one is a little bit busy or working as a junior monk or working in the lay world or whatever it might be. There's also different things that the Buddha recommends when sleepiness comes up. If all these things are not the case, one has time to meditate various things. There's different things that one can do. These things are good to try anyway, but one can, for example, do chanting. One starts to feel sleepy, one can start to chant. This can help wake one up. One can rub one's limbs. One can pull one's ears and look around at the stars. And one can get up and do walking meditation. Also, in the suttas, it's recommended to have this kind of perception of light. This kind of, maybe like a light nimitta, or a perception of light. I've never actually met anybody who's developed that, but that's one of the standard recommendations in the suttas. But one of the things that can be quite effective if one is kind of sleeping and keeps nodding is to get up and do a little bit of walking meditation, and then come back to do more sitting. So that can kind of help to re-energize the mind as well. There is a thing too that to a certain extent, if one isn't so sleepy that one needs to sleep for 6 hours, and sometimes if one is meditating, one may fall asleep for 15 minutes or so, or maybe 20 minutes or something, and then wake up again, and then one will be a little bit more refreshed. This sometimes happens. But the best thing is to try to adjust one's lifestyle, try to make one's lifestyle such that it's not a lifestyle that leads one to become very sleepy when there's the time to be calm. When the mind gets calmed down, one doesn't necessarily get sleepy. And some of the best ways to do this are keeping the mind calm during the day and kind of focusing in on one's meditation topic, meditating at the right times. There is also a certain amount of help that can come if one is in reasonably good physical shape. If one doesn't have to be a star athlete or an Olympic-style athlete or anything like this. But it can help if one does a certain amount of exercise during the day. Walking meditation can help with this. But it's also good if one is basically fit enough to walk for several hours a day. If one is fit enough to do that, then this is something that helps the body in and of itself. It gives the body more energy because one has the muscles, the various systems that help the body keep going when it's exercising. These systems operate in order to keep the body awake and keep the body using less energy during resting times. And maybe a bit like a kind of a car engine. A kind of car engine, almost never gets used. When one turns it on, it chugs and and these kind of things. But if one uses it regularly, one turns it on, it kind of hums and goes quite well. So if one keeps one's engine like this, one's healthy, one's heart rate is low, then this is something that also helps to give the body more energy, to give the body more strength, so that the body doesn't rely on sleep to make up for the lack of muscular strength or the lack of strength in the various systems that keep the body going. So all these are kind of common sense answers. There's many different things that one can try. Also, if one has a certain interest in one's meditation, if one is always doing meditation in the same way, in the exact same way all the time, then the mind can sometimes get very bored with that. If the mind gets bored, then it can sometimes be good to switch it up. If one is doing breath meditation, trying to approach it from a different angle. If one is doing metta meditation, trying to approach it from a different angle. Or one can even, if one has two meditation topics, maybe a samatha and a vipassana topic, then one can maybe switch from the samatha to the vipassana. In this way, get the mind contemplating a little bit more than thinking. So one wants to play with all these factors to try to find the right mix. But of course, if one is spending most of one's day on meditation, then this is probably one of the best ways, one of the most helpful ways to give the mind energy, because all the different factors will come into play then. One will be mindful throughout the day, or one will be focusing in on one's meditation throughout the day, and one will be meditating before one sleeps, one will be meditating when one wakes up. And if one is doing walking meditation, these kind of things, one can get some exercise in there too. So all these are just tips and tricks. One has to play with them a little bit to see what works. If one starts to get drowsy, then one can rub the limbs, one can pull one's earlobes, one can clean one's eyes out with water and look at the four quarters, or one can get up and do more walking. And the Buddha also says that if none of these methods work, if the body is too tired, then one can lie down mindfully and basically have a nap to rest the body enough. And this is also another important point, because if one tries to push oneself too much with lack of sleep, this is if one starts to try to really reduce one's sleep and then is getting sleepy, it can cause physical problems in the body. One can get kind of cysts on the body, and it can eventually lead to health problems. So it's good to try to find that balance between using these techniques, trying to reduce one's sleep, trying to make the mind more mindful, and also trying to get the appropriate amount of restful sleep so that one's body is healthy. Okay, so leave that for reflection, and wishing everybody all the blessings of Dhamma practice.